What's up, you data friends? It's Yanis here and welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to show you an example of how you can use the concept of agents in AI and LLMs. And more specifically, we are going to build this Streamlit app over here, which is basically a debate between a data analyst and a data scientist. So our first agent is going to be the data analyst. Our second agent is going to be the data scientist, and the debate between them is that they have to defend their jobs while throwing in some playful insults. So it's kind of a funny debate between the data analyst and the data scientist. And if we go over here so you can see the app, we can click on start the debate, and this is going to start calling our LLM from OpenAI, which I'm going to show you in the code how to do that. And the data analyst is going to start first, and he's going to try and defend his job while insulting the scientist. And then the scientist is going to respond to the data analyst. And again, he's going to try and defend the scientist's job and also try to make fun of the data analyst. I have also added this play over here so we can actually listen to what the LLM is generating. So if we go over the first example.
The classic data analyst versus data scientist debate. It's like comparing a warm, cozy sweater to a pretentious art installation that nobody understands.
Etc, etc. So you get the idea. And then the data scientist is actually going to respond to what the data analyst said. And he's going to say, oh, where do I even begin? Being a data scientist is like being the elite superhero of the data universe, while a data analyst is, well, more of the sidekick who's still figuring out how to tie their cape. You get the idea, right? Because I did say to the LLM that the responses have to be a bit funny. That's why you see all the irony and then they make fun of each other, which is kind of funny. But the idea of this is so you can see how you can use the concept of AI agents in order to generate all these new content using AI. Right, going back into our code. So before we start this video, let me just say that if you're passionate about data science, then please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and enable notifications for my future videos. Right, starting with the first thing we need is our libraries. So please make sure you have installed Streamlit, OpenAI. We are going to need this gTTS so we can play the audio in our Streamlit app. And we are also going to need from Streamlit this gTT OpenAI pillow. Right, over here I'm just importing our libraries, and then the second thing we have to do is to test if our OpenAI API key works. In order to do this now, you need to make sure that you do have an OpenAI key. Over here, I have the link that you need to follow in order to create your OpenAI API key, which is this link over here. Now, if you do not have an account with OpenAI, then first you will need to create an account. Then you will probably need to top up some money in order to use their OpenAI API. I don't know if they have any free version because I don't remember since I have done it, but maybe they do have some free version or some free models, maybe ChatGPT 3.5 that you can use without paying. But you will still need to generate your secret key, and then you are going to copy your key from here, and then you are going to paste it over here. The next thing we are going to do now is that if you follow the documentation of OpenAI, which is basically telling you how you can call their models, so it's going to be this page over here in Git. And what I did is that I have copied the example they have over here just to test if it works. And then I have pasted it into a function called testing question. And then my question is basically the question that I have over here when I call the function, because this function only takes in the question. And then I'm using GPT 3.5 model. I'm not doing any prompt engineering. I'm just saying you are a helpful assistant. So it's exactly the same as the example. Is it exactly the same? Okay, I think I have copied that from somewhere else, but the structure is the same. Let's go back. In the role user, I'm just passing our question over here. Max token, which is our return, is 300. Temperature, which is how much the model can improvise, is quite high, 0.7. And then I'm just returning the response. So I'm going to comment this out because I have already run this with my key and then test if it works. When I'm calling the function, I'm just saying write a story about data analyst and data scientist. And as you can see over here, I did get a response, which means that my API key works. So first you need to test if your key works before you move on to the next step. Right, moving on, the next thing I have over here is some context around the AI agents. So in the context of LLMs, agents refer to distinct roles or personas that simulate different characters or behaviors during a conversation or a task, which is what our example is going to do. These agents can act as individuals with their own goals, as we have our data analysts with their own goals and the data scientists with their own goals, perspectives and knowledge, enabling multi-agent interactions where they can argue, collaborate, or exchange ideas on a given topic. And over here, we have some key concepts of agents in LLMs. We have the role assignment, we have the distinct goals and behaviors, we have the simulated dialogue, the control context, multi-agent collaboration or conflicts, and etc., etc. You can actually read this in your own time and get some more context when it comes to AI agents. But essentially, in our example, we have our first agent, which is a data analyst, and its job is to defend the data analytics job while it's responding to what the data scientist is going to counter. And then our second agent, the data scientist, his job is to defend his job now while he's replying to whatever the data analyst is going to throw at him. Now, these agents are instructed via prompts, as you're going to see later on. And some practical applications of agents is chatbots, creative writing, training and education, AI and collaboration, and also by designing agents with clear roles and behaviors, which is basically fits in all of the above. Now, when it comes to creating agents in LLMs or in AI, there are some frameworks out there, and some of the most famous frameworks, which is basically like a structure you can follow, that are going to help you a lot when it comes to designing your AI agents. We have Autogen, LangChain, Crew AI, and Light LLM. However, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really see much value in using these. As when I'm using AI agents, I have a very clearly defined job for each of the agents, and I prefer the more all-style pipeline, as in step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. However, for some projects, I am sure that these frameworks are actually useful. For our example, it's extremely simple, so we are not going to use any of these frameworks. Right, moving on, we are going to start building our agents. So the first bit is our API key, which we copy and paste from above. Over here, make sure you have your API key pasted. I'm actually going to comment this out for now. Down here, we are creating our function. We are using GPT-4o mini. But as I said, maybe they have ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo for free. So make sure you change this if you didn't top up any money. Now, I don't know if it's for free, by the way. You can go in and check. Over here in the role system, in the content, we are saying you are a witty and sarcastic, and we're passing in the role name, which is the role name that our function takes as an input. And then we are also saying you are here to defend your job as the best while throwing in some insults. Make fun of the other job. And down here in the role user, we are passing our prompt, which is basically going to be these prompts we have over here. For the data analyst, the prompt is to explain why being a data analyst is the best job compared to a data scientist. And then for the data scientist prompt, we are saying explain why being a data scientist is the best job compared to a data analyst. And by basically creating this one function, we can use the same function for both the data analyst and the data scientist. Another approach now was to create two separate functions or two separate LLMs. One of it was going to be distinct for data analyst. The other one was going to be distinct for data scientist, but it was going to take a lot more code. And since our example is very simple, we are only going to use one function that calls the same LLM, and we are going to use it for both data analyst and data scientist. Down here is where we initialize the conversation or the debate between the two. We start by printing our title, and then our first agent is the analyst argument. We are calling our function. We are passing our analyst prompt, which is this prompt, and we are saying data analyst in the role name. And this is going to read as you are a witty and sarcastic data analyst. You are here to defend your job, and it's actually going to generate a response, and it's going to save it in the analyst argument. Next, we are printing the data analyst says, and we're actually printing the argument over here. So the response from the LLM. Next, we are repeating the same thing, but this time we are passing a data scientist in the role, and in our prompt is actually going to be this prompt over here. And again, we are printing the response. And if I show you how this looks, this is our title, this is what the data analyst said, and then this is what the data scientist said, and this is round 1. In order to repeat it now for round 2 and round 3 and round 4 as I have over here, we are going to need to update our prompt. We are going to have to pass the new argument, what the data analyst said, for example, before the data scientist responds again. To do this now, we are calling our function again. Sorry, we have our range for I in range, and we are going to do from 1 to 3, so 3 extra debates. We are going to call our function again, but we are going to change our prompt. It's not going to be this prompt. Now our prompt is going to be the data scientist said, and then we are passing in the argument of the data scientist. Respond to this argument and throw in some sass, and then the role name is the data analyst. So if I come down here to the response of round 2, if you actually read it, it basically took the content from the data scientist answer and it built on it. And if we read, for example, the first line, it says, oh, where do I even begin? Being a data scientist is like driving a shiny Ferrari, while being a data analyst is akin to pedaling a rusty old bike. And then if we read the response now, since we have passed the answer from the data scientist, it says, oh, look at you, Mr. Data Scientist, cruising around in your imaginary Ferrari. How cute. So you can see that it builds on it. It reads the response and it builds on it like a real debate. And this is why this is actually amazing. So if I come back to this, we are repeating the same thing for the data scientist response. So we are actually passing the analyst argument from over here. And then down here, we are only updating our arguments for the next round. And down here, I'm just saying start the debate and I run our function. So if I run it again, you can see it starts with our title and then it's building on as it goes on for 4 or 5 rounds, as you can see. And if you actually read this, it's very funny, but I want to keep the video shorter, so I'm not going to read the whole debate. Right, the next step now is to build our Streamlit app, which is basically the same code we have over here with some adjustments as I'm going to go over it now. Right, make sure you have these libraries and then make sure you have your OpenAI key over here. I'm not going to comment this out because we are not going to run this here. The next thing we have is exactly the same function as we created above and explained. So copy paste again. Down here is a function to convert our text to speech. And this is so we can have these play buttons you see over here. So what this does is that it reads all the text and is converting it into speech. So going back, it says text to speech. It takes the text, and this text is actually going to be the responses from the data analyst and the data scientist. So if I come down here where we call, the analyst argument, down here you can see I'm running that function, text to speech, and I'm passing the analyst argument into our function basically. Right, down here we are configuring our page to be white. So st.setPageConfig is streamlit.set the page config to be a white layout. As you can see, is white. The next thing I have is our title. So our title is Data Analyst versus Data Scientist Debate, and it's actually aligned on the center. So this is it, as you can see, our title. Next, we are splitting the whole page into 2 columns. That's what they are called in Streamlit when you split the page into separate sections. On column 1, we are going to have our picture. So first I have some st.markdown, which is basically CSS programming language, so that I can adjust the height of our image. This is the image over here. I'm setting it into 500. Then I'm loading in our image. Our image is called Data Analyst versus Data Scientist 2. It's a PNG file. And then I am printing that image, and I'm also adding a caption. And the caption is Data Analyst versus Data Scientist, which is this caption you see over here. Right, going back on the right column now is where we're going to have our debate, and we are going to start our debate with a button. So st.button start the debate is basically this button over here. Going back, next we have actually explained this before, but we start by running our function generate response, explain why being a data analyst is the best job compared to a data scientist, and the role is the data analyst, and we are saving this into the analyst argument. st.subheader is data analyst says, which is basically this subheader you see over here, and then we also print our response. So if I come back, st.write the analyst argument. The next step now is to add these play buttons you see over here. So first we have to call our text-to-speech function and then pass the analyst argument, and then store this into analyst audio. And then we need to run st.audio and then play this audio above here, which is going to be this audio. If I click play,
let me break it down for you.
You can see
1.
it's playing.
Simplicity
You can
is
actually
key.
hear.
As a data analyst.
Right. Going back, we repeat the same thing for the data scientist. And then the last thing is that we have to have 3 more rounds, which is exactly the same thing as we did before. We have to actually pass a new prompt now every time, and that's the difference. It's exactly the same as before. We also have the same generating text-to-speech code for each one of the responses, and then here we are updating the arguments. So it's exactly the same code as before. Right, the next step now is to deploy our Streamlit app, and to do this we are going to use Visual Studio Code. So what you will need to do is that you will need to create a new file, which is going to be a .py file, so a Python file. You will need to copy and paste all this code we have just created. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it over here. I'm going to rename this into Data Analyst versus Data Scientist, DA versus DS, and then click Save. And now I'm going to copy that file, which is over here, into the file location that I wanted it to be, which is over here for me. And then I'm going to open this using Visual Studio Code. So I actually have it open, which is going to be this file over here. Oh, I didn't save it, so make sure you save the file. The file, save all, and then close it. Let me see, did this save? Shit, I have to copy and paste it again. Okay, make sure you don't make this mistake. So coming back, copy, coming back into here, paste, replace, nice, coming back over here. There we go, we have our code. I'm going to pause the video to paste my API key in and then hide it so you don't see it. Right, so now I have pasted my API key in. I'm going to click save, so file save over here. Then I'm going to try and run it, see if it works. There we go. It says in order to run it, we need to run streamlit.app. There we go, over here. So I'm going to create a new command prompt. So you should do the same. And then you will need to run streamlit run, and then the name of your file, and then .py. So our file now is called DA versus DS. So I'm going to copy this. Sorry, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to paste it over here. And then I'm going to copy this and then paste it in our command prompt and then click enter. And this should now open a new window. There you go. We have a new window. Let's see. There we go. We have our picture. And then if we click start the debate, it should run our code fine. There we go. It started. It says, oh, where do I begin? Being a data analyst is like sipping fine wine while data scientists are busy chugging down cheap beer in a basement somewhere. So you can see, very funny. And then the data scientist responds. And then we have round 2. We should also have round 3 coming up. You can see it's still running. There you go. You see, you get round 3. Let's test the play.
Oh, where do I begin?
Nice, it works. Right, and what's even more impressive is that if you click on start the debate again, it's going to generate new answers. As you can see, it's a completely different answer now, and it's going to be a new debate, so new content all over again. Let's try and read some of this debate to see if it's funny. So the data analyst says, the age-old battle, data analyst versus data scientist. It's like comparing fine wine to cheap beer. One is so sophisticated, while the other is just trying to get you drunk as fast as possible. Now the data scientist responds, oh, where do I even begin? Being a data scientist is like being the superhero of the data universe, while a data analyst is more like the sidekick who keeps getting coffee. Sure, they are important in their own right, like a safety net for a trapeze artist, but come on, who really gets applaud? And then the data analyst responds, oh, bless your heart, Mr. Data Scientist. Your delusions of grandeur are truly charming. You might think you're the Superman of the data universe, but let's be real for a second. Without us data analysts, you'd be a superhero without a sidekick, staring at your fancy models, wondering why they don't actually mean anything. This is actually very funny. And then the data scientist responds, oh, bless your heart, data analyst. Comparing yourself to a fine wine? That's adorable. More like a box of Francia, really. Sure, it gets the job done, but nobody is exactly sipping it at a fancy party. And then they go on and on. It's actually quite funny. What we could do is that we could add a third agent, let's say the data engineer or the project manager, and ask him to interact with these two too. So it's going to become more complex, but more funny. Right, so this is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've gained enough value out of this video. If you feel like you did, then please click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and enable notifications for my future videos. If you have any questions or any ideas or thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'm going to see you in the next video.